The big issue, should Vermont secede from the Union? A growing number of people think it should, and those people have published a manifesto explaining why this would be the best option for the very left-leaning state. Could the 14th state to join the Union become the first one to successfully leave? Big story correspondent Douglas Kennedy is here now with more. Douglas.
Yeah, John, some people in Vermont say they've had enough of the United States and they want out of the Union. It's a separatist movement they say is gaining ground in the Green Mountain State. Vermont is a state famous for having more cows than people. But now a growing number of Vermonters say they're having a cow about the direction the rest of the country is going.
The U.S. government has lost its moral authority. It's corrupt to the core, and we want out.
The main beef seems to be with President Bush and the war in Iraq. Though some in the cessation movement also blame Democrats for failing to provide an alternate progressive voice. Former college professor Thomas Naylor says the U.S. is controlled by corporations and cessation is the only answer.
Fixing the system becomes a virtual impossibility. We think that the United States is unsustainable, it is ungovernable, and unfixable.
And it's an idea that seems to be catching on among Naylor's neighbors. Last fall, 300 people attended a cessation convention in Montpelier. And lots of Vermonters now sport Free Vermont bumper stickers and buttons. At Riverwalk Records in the state capitol, the #1 selling album is not an old Joan Armatrading album, but a t-shirt that reads U.S. out of Vermont.
While Vermont's become the flagship secession movement in the United States, over half of the states in the U.S. now have active secession movements.
In fact, a recent survey found 13% of residents in the Green Mountain State favor seceding from the Union. That's up from 8% just a year ago. Still, some economists call the movement impractical, saying the state could not survive on its own. Naylor says that's ridiculous.
Of the 200 independent nation states in the world, 50 of them have smaller populations than Vermont, with its 620,000 people.
Naylor also points out 4 of the 10 richest countries have populations smaller than Vermont. And he says independence could very well attract tourism and investment. And he says, John, he wants Vermont to become the Switzerland of North America.
He was a professor at Duke.
He was.
Did he notice the Civil War?
He knows he points to the Revolutionary War, where he says only 25% of Americans at that time wanted to secede from